podcast with Zack and Matt, your host as always. We've got a Wilmington recap for you. We're going to be talking about USTA League highlights a little bit from the spring. Now that we're getting into the summer, talking about a couple of teams that we're very excited for. And yeah, Zack, you had a couple of successes at Wilmington. You did pretty
Correct.
well.
I will say, though, I was very pleased at my results because initially when the draws came out, I thought that I'd been draw dogged. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I looked this up. Do you know who the number one by points player in 4-5 singles is in North Carolina?
It's not Evan, then I don't know.
It's Evan. It's Evan
Oh,
Wharton.
yeah.
Do you know who the number two player in 4-5 singles in North Carolina is?
Is it you?
Nope. It's Daniel Marchek.
Really?
And so in my draw, the path to the finals ran through the top two ranked players in the
Yeah.
division. And so
Oh, wow.
that alone is tough. And then you throw Anil on top of that, Anil Chawla,
Yeah.
who is like a baller.
It's a tough draw, yeah.
That's about as tough of a draw as I
Yeah.
feel like you could reasonably get in
At
singles.
4-5, unless you run into Hankinson, that's as tough as it gets.
I think with Seiko being in open this year, that if he'd been match number 4, there's just no way I would have gotten through the ringer. But before we get too much into that, let's talk about the vibes. The Smash Cancer Tournament in Wilmington, one of the finest in the land. Matt, this is I think your second year doing it. What'd you think?
Oh, it was nice to actually play tennis this time and not just watch. But it's fun to watch. I try to spend as much time as I can watching. Sometimes in the middle of the day, it's hard. It's 90 and
Yeah.
humid, so
Yeah.
you watch where you can, try and watch in the morning. But no, it was great. Great food. My only complaint was Friday when Jaron and I got there, we checked in, and there was a bunch of people who checked in at 4:30, but they didn't actually have enough courts for everyone that they told to be there at 4:30.
Oh.
So we were like, wait, what? But we were on within 15 minutes, so it wasn't that big a deal.
Yeah. This is my third year doing this tournament, and it was the first time there wasn't like a significant amount of rain during the tournament, and that made everything run so much smoother. There was still the last couple of years they had to go to fast 4 at a certain point. Just when rain happens, that's what you got to do. They did not do that this year, but they did do no ad scoring, somewhat enforced. Matt, how did you adjust to the no ad scoring?
Singles, I preferred not to do it, but when I played Daniel, he wanted to do it the first set. And so we did that. And then we had a 2-hour first set, and the judges started to walk over because they noticed we were still playing. They're like, you guys playing a match? We're like, yeah. You guys playing no ad? And we're like, yeah. And then next point, judges are watching. We get to ad, and Daniel's, oh, fuck, I guess. What side do you want, Matt? I picked my side. And he double faults to lose the game.
Oh, no. I guess that's the look. If your goal is to play maximum tennis and you kind of give a little wink and a nod to your opponent and go and just do ad scoring, most of the time it's fine. The one time it gets you in trouble, Matt, is if you play a 3.5-hour match because that's just not really possible with no ad scoring. So yeah, that's a funny moment. And I think that there have been a couple instances of this type of thing happening previously in Wilmington, and probably any tournament with no ad scoring where people just want to play a lot. The system that I have heard reports work, no personal experience or knowledge of, is that if you just never get to deuce, you just, hey, I think it's 30 all. Weird, I think it's 30 all again. Oh, whoopsies, is it 30 all? You can get away with it. I also have seen people just not call the score out while the officials are watching, and you watch somebody make eye contact with their opponent and they'll give a little nod. If you see that during a no ad scoring tournament and the scores aren't called, they're playing ads. They just don't want to get caught.
Yeah, I did the 30 all when we played Parv and Ezra. I don't really have a problem with no ad. I think it should be implemented. I like no ad.
I will say, man, I played in 2 of my matches, actually, what am I saying? In several of the matches adhered to the no ad scoring. The pressure point at deuce when you're the server, it's a totally different feeling. I think that for tournaments where they tell you the whole time, hey, look, it's going to be no ad scoring, deal with it, I think that's more than reasonable. I have a really hard time going back and forth, but in theory, everyone was supposed to be playing no ad the whole tournament, so that's totally reasonable.
Yeah. No, I played ad except all of it except for the second half of my match with Daniel. Otherwise, I played ads.
Do you feel more pressure in no ad scoring as the server or as the returner?
I don't know. Probably as the server, because if you double fault, you're screwed.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't, because it's just like you got to get to ad eventually. So
Yeah.
you really shouldn't feel any more pressure.
It's funny. I feel so much more pressure on my serve in no ad scoring at deuce because
Yeah.
there's the kind of conversation that you have in your head. Okay, do I go for a big first serve and try and get a fast or free point here and just get it done with? But if I do that, I miss my first serve. Then I'm on a second serve.
Yeah.
I'm feeling dumb for having gone for the big one. And if I double fault, I'm going to be super pissed and behave in a way that maybe I'm embarrassed about if that happens. And I don't have that feeling in a normal ad scoring game. Because if you double fault at deuce, it sucks. It's inconvenient. But there is redemption on the other side of the court, on the ad side.
Yeah, but you end up getting to ad eventually. So I think it's it's false. You shouldn't feel like that, but you do. I feel it too.
It's like even in a tiebreaker. Imagine if it wasn't win by 2. It's just a totally different thought process, calculus behind each shot.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe you're right. I think you're right. You, in theory, should not feel more pressure on that than you do on a normal ad or deuce point. However, I think because it's still somewhat new and novel to me, I just find myself thinking a lot more. And
I do too.
That's really when I get myself in trouble. Anytime I have a thought, I'm like, ooh, that's not good.
Any thought. The key is just to be so tired you can't think.
Honestly, I think that's why I played so well against Evan. I was
had so many matches. It's just you had how many? You had 3 singles, 3 doubles.
3 singles, 3 doubles, yeah. But I was supposed to have a 4th singles match, but my round 1 opponent withdrew actually, and I didn't find out until the morning of the tournament. At which point I had already driven down the night before to get to Wilmington. So inconvenient, but also very helpful to have one last match. 6 is about the max my body can handle. You had a very good one against the eventual doubles champions, Parv and Ezra, which, by the way, huge shout-outs to those guys. I have never felt more overmatched on a tennis court than I did against them. I felt like I couldn't do anything. And it's not just because I felt like I wasn't playing well. It's because they're so good. They're just constantly putting you in tough positions. And I think that is what the peak of 4-5 doubles looks like, is Parv and Ezra. Just crazy. And yet, you and Jaron took it to him a little bit. Tell us how it happened.
Yeah, no, we almost had him. Jaron and I went in with low expectations. And after we lost the first game, it was their serve, and Jaron comes to me and he goes, "On serve, all good."
That's a great take the pressure, like bring it down a little bit line. Or on
I
serve.
think he probably lost like 40 love. He's like, "On serve, we're good." And then we held, and he's okay on serve. And then they held on serve, and we just kept going, and then it got to 5-4, 4-5, and we're like, "Shit, we're still on serve."
Yeah,
this is pretty good.
Different experience for Daniel and I. I don't think that Daniel and I have ever been bageled or breadsticked in doubles. We got bageled in set 1.
Wow.
Just absolutely murked. And it wasn't like Daniel's fault. I was just like it was one of those matches where I was the worst player on the court for probably 90% of the match. Just things weren't working for me. And again, like I don't think it's like my game was firing this weekend. I just couldn't make adjustments to what they were doing. Like I didn't have the answer. I didn't have the comfort level, and I felt like I really held us back. But Taylor Fritz famously says, you never want to beat a guy 6-0. So after we lost the first set 6-0, we somehow managed to steal a tiebreaker in the second set. Daniel basically carried us, and I just tried to get out of the way and not screw up. And then the breaker, they got us pretty good.
Yeah. Was it Parv or Ezra that was giving you more of the trouble?
So it depended on the situation. I find at the net, I have a really hard time with Ezra because Ezra, I like the lob. He moves north-south very well. And he can, and a lob that I'll feel good about, he'll back up and get it despite being like right up on the net. Yeah. And so then you kind of start thinking a little bit, and I left a few short. And not only does he put it away, he puts it away in just like brutal fashion.
It's
like
brutal.
It's not going over the fence by a foot. It's going over the fence by 25 feet.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it's gone.
And that kind of sticks with you a little bit more than just a normal made overhead. And in doubles, especially when you're not playing well, for me at least, you feel the pressure of, okay, My partner keeps winning points when he's returning, and I keep ending up with the ball going over the fence with Ezra mashing overheads when I'm returning.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do here? I don't feel like I was able to time either of their serves. 2 lefty serves you'd think would actually make it a little bit easier than 1 lefty serve because you can get in rhythm, but it has that kind of low toss, that really hard slice. And that, he also can kick it, but the slice is the one that I struggle with the most. Yeah. Ezra was a little bit more kick, much higher, and so I never got in rhythm.
Serves.
Yeah,
they're not the same. Yeah,
they use the same hand, but they do them very differently, and I couldn't keep up with it. And then I think you play really badly for a set and a half, and you start, or not even play badly, you're getting beat for a set and a half where you feel overmatched. You start to get in a negative headspace, and I'm not like typically a freaker outer on the court, but I let my racket fly a couple times. Yeah. I didn't scream anything too, I don't think. No, I might have let a few words fly, like more like loud noises than words. But yeah, the racket toss into the net, racket toss into the fence. I don't think Sarah's ever seen me do that before, and Sarah, by the way, was like my MVP the whole weekend, making sure I was staying hydrated, just being like generally supportive and amazing. And I would have liked to
put on all your
not.
goops.
Help me with the old man goops and ointments.
Yep. Your goops.
Made sure that I was getting food in between matches, so sunscreen, all that stuff. But yeah, like I don't think she's seen me throw a racket like that before, and I hope won't again. But realistically, it is tennis.
Oh, it'll happen.
And it brings it out in all of us.
Yeah, I created a new racket throw on my with Parv and Ezra.
Tell us about the new racket throw.
We were up 4-1 in the tiebreak, and I wanted to go for an overhead, and I did, and then I hit it in the net, and I take the racket over my head like this, like tomahawk it, and chuck it across the court. Tomahawk throw. And it lands on the butt, and then I end up losing the butt of the racket, and it flies.
That's amazing.
And that was great. Everyone had a good chuckle after I did that.
That's so good. Hey, can I just also really quickly, I want to do a plug for 4-5 singles. Sure. Stuart Bible, Mike Westlander, not only do they win in 4-0 dubs, Stuart had a pretty darn solid run in singles, too. Round of 16 win against a player named Zachary Anderson. Very good player, young guy, good athlete.
Yeah, I saw him,
Beat Raymond in the quarterfinals. Raymond Zoo, everybody knows, one of the most likable, lovable guys on the courts, but also just mashes backhands and forehands and has textbook swings. And then after losing a tiebreaker to Evan in the semis, ended up retiring to focus on doubles. But yeah, man, like he took Evan to a tiebreaker after being 2 very good players while playing doubles too, and all somehow being a computer rated 4-0. That's just silly. That is not supposed to happen in an L4 period, and that shows how good Stewart is playing and how high his level has gotten.
Yeah, I know they're on their way to nationals. They've won every tournament that I've seen them play. Maybe they've lost one. I don't know. I haven't seen them lose a tournament.
I think they lost the finals in Charlotte, but then won Hollow Rock, won this one. If you look at their point total and you look at who's ahead of them, the people ahead of them have either gotten bumped already or they're holdover points from last year that they're going to have to defend. Okay. Look, Mike and Stewart are going to nationals, man. Yeah. If they've got the availability, I looked it up. I think it's Orlando in March of next year.
I think they do. They do. I know that's something that they plan for. They're like,
that's
hey,
let's
do it.
That's so sick. Look, having a goal to work towards in life is just a great, wonderful thing. In tennis, it's also really helpful. Because, look, for all of us to get better, we need to do more than just play matches. Drills, little off-court conditioning, working on the mental side of things. Like, those are all really important parts of the game, and they're pretty easy to not do without that goal. Yeah. And so I think it's really smart of them to have that goal. I'd love to see more folks in the triangle set something like that. Like, hey, I want to play in sectionals. I want to play in nationals. Yeah. I've set a goal for myself of playing on a states team, and yet 0 for 19, but maybe this is the season that changes.
Yeah, I think tri-level is going to be tough. Should we move on? I don't want to move on. Are we ready to move on to tri-level?
Not yet. I want to do a couple more shout-outs. Anil got the win in the 4-5 consoles. Man, I feel like I stole one in round 1. Matt, I think you might have heard about do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, I don't know. No, you go ahead.
Basically, like, Anil had me the whole first set, and look, no ad scoring, just things happen quickly, and all of a sudden I won 7. I think I was down 5-3, and then just a couple quick points, 7-5, right? Oof. The second set, I was either in it or up the bulk of the set, but like Anil is such a good player, and he makes you run so much and just moves you side to side and keeps you way behind the baseline. I had my little Apple Watch on, and my heart rate kept being like 176, 180, 184. And so I was like, there's the tennis component against a really tough player, but there's also, I need to not run this point or I might have a heart attack component. And so that was really tough, but managed to just barely hold on by the skin of my teeth and win 6-4. And then Anil just ran through it. So Jaron Russell, great player, your doubles partner. Obviously, we're both familiar. 1-0 bagel breadstick bagel from Anil.
Yeah.
That's
Jaron was obviously saving his energy for
Yes.
doubles, obviously.
yes. I think also Anil was maybe taking a day out on Jaron. a little
Maybe
bit.
that's what Jaron said too. I think he took it out on me.
Yeah, that was my closest match. That was the
Yeah.
one. Yeah, and then he beat Zachary Anderson, whose game again. I know he's a young guy, but a good
He's
player.
solid. Yeah, him and Stewart had a good match. Yeah.
Yeah, Anil breadstick.
Yeah.
What a run there. Let's go back to Seiko for a second in the men's open. Cannot stress how big of a deal it is that he made the finals in an open tournament. That's literally the level below you get paid if you win, right? There are open events where the winners get money. And Seiko's playing at a semi-professional level. That means, in all seriousness, this is a weird draw. Just a lot of injuries. So both the semifinals got canceled because of injuries. Ryan ended up losing the finals to Brendan Collins, the 1 seed. It's my understanding that he is a pro, like he's a professional tennis coach.
Yeah. I saw him play.
I think he's an over 50 or an over 40 national champion.
That wouldn't surprise me the way he played and walked on the court.
Yeah.
But we got to see him play for 20 minutes. He was playing some young kid, and we were talking. And in 5 minutes, I was like, 2-1. He's got him. I was like, they don't even need. I'm just gonna go tell him not to play. There's no need to play this match, kid. You're going to lose 2-1. Just take it. He ended up losing 0-1. Like, if he would have done what I said, he could have gotten a few more games.
Not only did Ryan make the finals, he beat an Olympian.
Oh, wow.
He beat an Olympian, Ilya Kulik.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all remember. I think it was
of course
the 2002 figure skating, maybe?
That was I remember those in that one place.
Yeah. Was that Salt Lake City?
Sure, why not?
Absolutely. Mitt Romney, Salt Lake City. Anyway, yeah. Ilya Kulik, Olympian. Ryan beat him in 3 in round 1. That's.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever beaten an Olympian in literally anything. That's let alone a sport. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't think I know an Olympian. Wow.
There's a few of them floating around the triangle, right?
I'm sure somewhere. I just don't know them.
Yeah. Cameron Crump, let's see, played. Oh, he lost a heartbreaker in the semis in 4-0. Who ended up winning 4-0? Guy named, not Durham, not Triangle guys.
Yeah.
David McCabe won in a tiebreaker. It's always cool to see that the finals go to a tiebreaker. Good for David.
Oh, yeah.
Don't know him or his game. That's a pretty serious tournament, so clearly he's bringing some heat. Any other doubles? We've obviously talked about Parvin Ezra, Team Pezra. We talked about Mike
Stewart. I don't know anybody else. I wasn't keeping up to date on anybody else. I think those were most of the triangle players were in 4-0, 5, particularly 4-5.
Yeah. Just a quick shout out to the 3-5 men's doubles champions, Rob Sappenfield and Terry Walden. They beat Adam Parker and Gerald Quattlebaum in the finals. By the way, that's got to be the most fun name to say in Quattlebaum. That is a fun
cool
name. Yeah, I like that name a lot.
Cool.
That's a super good. There's a trend sometimes in the South to give people last names as first names.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a lot of kids coming out of this group right now, so just want to float that little Quattlebaum.
That would be your name.
That's baller name. That's a baller name.
I think middle schoolers would just be vicious and make fun of them.
That's true.
It would, like, as an adult, I'd be like, oh, that's a sweet name. But as a middle schooler, they would just rip you apart. Yeah.
I don't know how or why this happened, but I have 6 friends that like to text me joke name ideas for baby Archie, who's on the way.
Okay.
The one that the 2 that have really jumped out are Junko, because he'll be gritty. Junko, that was the pitch. You will have the grittiest kid ever. And then the other was Strictly Business. First name Strictly Business.
Yeah.
No space. One word. Hello, I'm Strictly Business Chakowski. Legal name. Yes. That's again.
Good.
With my last name, you just have to keep it simple though. Have to keep it simple. So I think that's Wilmington more or less. Any I have one last thing to talk about with you, though, Matt, because this happened. Daniel and I doubles partners in the same half of the draw. You and Jaren doubles partners at one point looked like we're also going to be. No, you were also in the same half of the draw as Daniel and I. I think a really simple USTA league fix or USTA tournament fix: don't put partners in the same half of the draw. Unless they're seeded and that's like how it's got to be, I think it makes sense to just not do that. Like, it's really not fun to play your partner in singles before you all have to play a match together in doubles, because you're conscious, like, look, you don't want to go 3. You don't want to go 3 because you don't want to tire each other out, but you want both of you feeling confident going into that match. And it's a really easy fix to me.
Jaren and I played first round, which wasn't ideal.
Yeah.
It was so hot. You missed that really set the tone for the rest of the tournament. I was on the bench, just starfished out, just dying. It was so hot.
Somehow, you always managed to do it again, though. Like, after your match with Daniel, I think the reason that I was able to get the win against him is because you tired him out.
We destroyed each other.
He, couldn't move. He still had all the shots, but the lift wasn't there on the serve because you just put him through the meat grinder.
Yeah, I was done with singles. I was probably going to be done with singles no matter what happened after that. Or if I would have played you, I would have served and volleyed the entire time, just whatever it took to shorten the points. And it wouldn't even be like a hard serve and volley. It'd be like a serve and then wander to the net and see what happens.
Yeah. With that, let's move into some quick plugs. Matt.
Yeah.
What are you plugging today, man?
You should totally go first while I think about what I'm going to plug.
I'm going to plug audiobooks. I'm listening to one that is just making me very angry every single time I listen to it, but it's excellent, called Original Sin by Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper. And yeah, I think it's a really great medium. I would like to read more books, but my brain has been so zapped by social media that I don't know if it's longer than an article, and not even that long of an article probably isn't going to happen at this point. Make an exception or two every year just so I can say I read a book this year. But it feels like a good way to get back into reading and scratch that itch without actually having to do the thing. So audiobooks are great. Also, Original Sin, if you're into that kind of thing like me, give it a read.
What's good to do while listening to audiobooks? Taking your dogs on a walk.
Oh, interesting.
Now the sun's been out. Sometimes it's no fun to take them out in the dark, so the sun's been out early. I've been more consistent on my morning dog walks, so that's been good. That's a great time. I listen to usually podcasts. I'll listen to NPR or
like the Triangle Tennis Podcast.
I will listen to the No, I won't. I would never listen to that again.
Wait, really?
No,
hold on.
I never listened to it. I've never listened to a single one.
I listen to every episode back so I can
Really?
get a kick out all the times. I'm like, oh yeah, let's edit this out and we'll do that, and then it's in there.
Oh, I've never listened to it.
What if our content's terrible, man?
I don't care. It's up there. It's too late. What are you gonna do? I don't know.
So I listen to every episode back
Really?
because I want to make sure I'm not like coming across as a total idiot all the time. And so I like write little notes sometimes.
Really?
Yeah. It is, however, though, far more helpful to have somebody else listen to it and give feedback than self-feedback because like we all have our own lenses. For example, I didn't know this. Did you know that I start not every question, but almost every question by going, question?
No, but this brings me back to something that Daniel, another superpower of Daniel is he does really good impressions, and he was doing great impressions of you all weekend.
He did a no pressure impression, right?
Yeah, he did multiple impressions of you.
What does it sound like?
I can't. You have to have Daniel do it. Daniel's really good, so we'll have to have him on the pod again, and we'll just ask him to do. He does a really good you impression, and then he does a really good Kelvin impression.
That's fantastic. We should have him do an impression for one of us and see how long we can get into the pod before it becomes clear that it's not that one of us.
Pull it off.
It's our director of marketing, a man of many talents.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Great. Yeah, because at the Airbnb he was doing impressions. Good storyteller too. He has all kinds of. Oh man.
Yeah.
He had a story with one of the Obama girls. Yeah, you can ask him about that one time. It got wild.
Oh yeah. I found out the question thing because Mike Westlander and Stuart were just roasting me. And so apparently it is helpful for transcripts to start things by going question or answer. But it is easy to poke fun at it a little bit there because, that's just that's a weird human interaction.
Another thing from Wilmington I forgot. I got to mention, speaking of poking fun, after our match with Parv and Ezra, Parv's wife comes up to me and she goes, "We made a drinking game when we see you play." And I was like, "Oh, okay, what is it?" And they said, "Every time I throw something, they take a drink."
Oh, they must be hammered by the end.
Yeah, I think she was
End of the
upset. She
match.
goes, "You didn't throw it stuff enough." Because I had a tomahawk and I
Yeah.
had maybe four, we were playing pretty well, so I probably had maybe 5 visor or racket tosses. So I said, next time I'm playing, just tell me, and I can definitely increase the throwing.
The TTP drinking game would be fun. I think anytime Ryan Seiko comes up, you got to drink. Anytime visor toss is mentioned, you have to take a shot.
Yeah.
Anytime.
What else? Public clay is mentioned. That's probably the best one.
I'm so glad that you brought public clay up, by the way, Matt, because I just want to talk about something in Durham. They're increasing the city's budget by over $40 million this year, and they're raising our taxes by 17%, our municipal tax by 17%. Do you know how much money it would take to build a set of 4 public clay courts? Which, by the way, public clay does not equal free. They are revenue generators. There's a great model in Winter Park, Florida. There's another great model in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They are fully self-sustaining after the initial investment. It would take a fraction of a % or 2 of the budget increase that is going to be approved. It would take a fraction of a % of the $85 million that's been allocated to 4 parks that we passed in a ballot initiative to do this. The idea that we can't afford to do it is incorrect. It's false. It's wrong. It is. Now, there has to be the political will to make it happen. It's going to have to be done in a smart way where there will be revenue generated, because people, they always cite this as the reason you can't do it. There is more maintenance involved, right?
Yeah.
But you can also charge more for it. You can't charge for rock quarry in the state that it's in. You absolutely could for public clay. And so, look, is it going to happen this year? No. Is it going to happen next year? Probably not. But I will not rest until people accept that public clay is not just realistic, it's a social justice issue.
Yeah.
Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Wilmington, Asheville. Why doesn't Durham deserve the same amenities that those cities have, especially when our budget is a comparable size?
Yeah, I mean, I
USDA
think most
has matching
people,
grants too.
Yeah, most people, I think the argument is we should probably maybe spend the money on fighting homelessness or opioid abuse. And
Yes,
things like
and
that.
we should do both.
Yes.
Get out of that. Get out of this mindset of scarcity. I'm abundance pilled, baby. More is more. The answer is more all the time. Greed is good.
Just more.
Yeah. But also, the issue, I know this is the Talking Tennis podcast. We're getting into some social issues here, but lack of resources is oftentimes not the thing that is preventing these issues from being addressed. It's lack of political willpower. It's lack of willingness to implement effective strategies because sometimes they're unpopular. The solution to homelessness and unhousedness is really simple. It's you give people housing. You pay for their housing. And the money is there to do that. We just choose not to because certain segment of the population gets a little weird about that kind of thing. That reacts badly. That would solve it. Like, it's mental health counseling. It's pay for housing. There are countries around the world where they are able to solve this issue. We choose not to. It's a choice. Just like public clay, it is a choice. We choose to make tennis less healthy and less accessible for the elderly by only having hard courts.
I think we'll have to have Chris Moffat on for counterpoint. We'll do public clay point and counterpoint, because adding him to the East End chat was one of the best decisions I think that chat has made collectively. Whoever did that, was that you? Or was
I don't think so. I assumed
the
he was
mayor?
in already.
I think it was the mayor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Michael Young. But that is he's just great. His sass is just I've never seen a man with so much sass.
Yeah, he's the best. He brings a lot to the chat, but he also brings a lot to the community with the great work that he does with Enocta.
Yeah.
The whole Enocta team, like being on the board, it's been like pretty inspiring. Like, people are hustling, trying to make stuff happen. There are people that captain so many teams, and they're just working hard to make tennis more accessible. And there's some version of that happening in every community in America. And some of them have figured out a way to get public play, and we should too. And we can, and we will.
All right.
That note.
Yeah, let's switch from public clay. Let's talk about some nice matches we had recently. 5-0, yeah. So let's talk about yours. You had that big win.
Sometimes on a tennis court, people will react badly. And oftentimes, that's actually not an insult. It's a compliment. And so There was a moment in this 5-0 match where Adam Yagi and I were playing two players who were certainly better than me, but I think just very good players. And I knew that we had a shot when one of the opponents goes, "Ah, you lobbing asshole."
Yeah.
Basically, when you're playing somebody better than you, you cannot play their game. You can't just play smart tennis. You got to play ugly tennis. You embrace your inner Brad Gilbert. And I realized pretty quickly I wasn't going to hang with these guys in baseline rallies, that their goal was to get as close to the net as quickly as possible and in the point with the put-away volley. Yeah. So I just hit about 1,000 lobs. Just lob, Blake Griffin, Chris Kaman, Chris Paul, Lob City. Just throwing it up, and DeAndre Jordan, Lob City. Hoping for the best. And if Yagi had been playing the same style as me, would they have gotten Yags? Probably not. But he was hitting winners and really bringing some creativity and playing like great tennis, and I was just doing enough to keep us in it with the lob. And I think ultimately, I feel bad. One of our opponents clearly had something bad happen to his knee, and I don't know if it was like a tweak or a tear. I hope it was just like a small thing that was going to have him out for a week. It looks worse than that, though.
I've seen him. He's able to teach, so I don't know if he's playing, but his livelihood hasn't been affected, so that's good.
That's good. Yeah, you never want to see an opponent get injured, especially like both those guys. They're really solid dudes and great players, and realistically, probably the only way I should have been on the court with him is probably if I was paying. Yeah. Not quite as egregious as if I ever get matched up against Loic and or Andres, but like close to it. So, yeah, that was a big one. But also, I believe that Anil is 3-0 at 5-0 this year.
Isn't that wild? So he goes and loses to you, and then he turns around the next day and wins, and then wins a 5-0 match. Like it's just wild. He just does it. He's just okay. I lost a match, and now I'm gonna win the next 4 matches in a row.
Tennis, man. Tennis is so weird. It's just such a weird sport. Because going just back to the finals for a second, back to Wilmington for a second. In my singles match, I came into that match in a terrible headspace. I had just played one of the one of the worst feeling doubles matches of my life. I felt like I got I felt like I got embarrassed in that match because it was like the three of them were just on a different level than me almost the entirety of the match. And it was hot. I was tired. I'd played 5 matches in a pretty short period of time. I asked Evan if we could move the match up, and he was like, "No, I need the recovery time. Let's keep it at 2." Totally reasonable thing to do. But he'd beaten me the last time we played. I thought I was going to lose. I was like, ugh, I'm going to have to wait longer to lose this match and then drive home sweaty and stinky and just stew about that.
Yeah.
And so couldn't have been in a worse headspace. And then just was like, okay, if I'm going to lose, I might as well swing hard. Yeah. And then had the best match of my life.
Yeah, I think that's a wild score. 1-2.
And that's tennis, man. Yeah. It just, you can do all the right things and get worked. You can be in a terrible headspace and steal one. I don't know. It's a weird sport like that.
Yeah, that's impressive for singles too. Doubles, I feel like there's more. You can go out there on any day, and like you said, if you're playing bad, then something can happen, or the other guy's playing bad. Like when we were playing, Parvin Ezra just had trouble with the lobs.
Yeah.
Going back to lobs, sometimes people don't like. It's tough to, like you said, you got to keep Ezra off the net. So I was keeping him at the fence instead.
I think also, look, most of us are in our 30s, 40s, and 50s, and so you hit enough. The serve already tires out the shoulder. You throw a bunch of lobs in there, and like guys start to physically have a hard time with it. It's not just a mental thing. It's, man, my shoulder hurts. I don't want to hit an overhead. And then if you're thinking and an overhead's coming in, you're screwed.
Except for Parv. I was talking because I was like talking to him last. I had played Wilmington and I played Monday, Tuesday. I was supposed to play doubles last night. We ended up playing singles. And I got off the court with him, and I was like, doesn't everything hurt? He's like, no, I'm good. I was like, good God.
Parv is not like us. I don't know how he plays more matches, I think, than anybody else in the triangle.
He might have Tyler Carroll beat. Tyler Carroll used to have that record. Parv might have him beat. They play a lot together. So
we should study them for science. Like whatever they're doing off court that allows them to be on court that much, like the rest of us should start doing whatever those things are more.
Yeah. I think Tyler has economy mode. I think Parv has a little bit of a level of economy mode when he needs it.
Yeah.
Depending on what he's doing.
What else?
I
think that they both play a lot of doubles. I think that if you take singles out of the mix, you can spend a lot more time on court.
Yeah.
Because singles
they both
is where
play a lot of doubles.
Yeah, like it's just you can play 3 hours of doubles, be tired, and have a normal enough rest of your day. I feel like when I play 3 hours of singles, I feel like I got hit by a car.
It was so hard. Like after Daniels and I met, it was just, man, that
Yeah.
was hard.
Give us a couple 5-0 anecdotes, Matt. How's it going for you? How you liking it?
It was funny. I had a bad match with Adam to end the season, and I was pretty pissed.
Wait,
And I was
lefty
like,
on lefty, Indiana on Indiana?
yeah, we didn't have a good last match. I really didn't play well, and Adam's back has been hurting him, and so it just wasn't a good match. We
Yeah.
got beat maybe 2-2, but it wasn't close, and I was sad. And I was like, oh, 5-0 sucks. And then it's funny. I don't know if you ever had this in like high school or wherever, where you like knew somebody and then like you started talking and it's, oh yeah, like we're good together.
Yeah.
That's me and Davis Feltz. Like
Okay.
I had known Davis Feltz and we
Yeah.
were friends, but then we started playing together and it's, oh, this works.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. Yeah.
we get each other.
Yeah.
And so we played once and we had a good match. It was like 3-3 against some good 5-0s, but we texted each other after and was like, we played pretty well. That was one
Yeah.
break each time. And then we got a set the other day against the eventual
Okay.
winners. And yeah, Feltz is not known for his backhand. He's known for one or two backhands. And
Yeah.
man, that guy was hitting backhand winners.
Okay.
All kinds of stuff. I told him every game you get one volley from me. And
Yeah.
that's all he needed. And yeah, we won the first set, and then we had a little bit of a letdown and lost 6-1.
Yeah.
And then you remember the story at Seven Oaks where we were down 3-8, and then Nick and I came back. So we're on
Yeah.
that same court. I dropped 6 points in a row in the tiebreak. It was awful.
Okay.
I missed 6 balls in a row.
That's also
Yeah.
for folks who have not seen Matt play, I cannot stress how uncharacteristic it is for
It
Matt
was.
to miss 2 balls in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent a lot of time on court and next to each other on courts.
wild.
I've never seen that happen.
I
don't think I've
haven't
ever
either.
seen you miss 4 in a row, let alone 6.
No, I've never done that. It was
Yeah.
wild. But then I threw my racket and threw it really hard. And then I was down 3-8. I was on the exact same court where I made that comeback, and I'm like, all right, I've done it before on this court. And we come back and we get it to 7-8. And then I hit a really good return. It was just a little bit out, and then we
Yeah.
ended up losing 7-10, but almost had another epic comeback from 3-8. We were really close.
You know, man, I think there was some question about whether it was a good idea for us to play 5-0 once upon a
Yeah.
time, right?
There was some people question that. Many people.
Yeah.
Maybe there was just one or two,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And in our first season at 5-0, there were many moments where I questioned whether that was a good
Yes.
idea. You know, where including against one of the fellas that Adam Yagi and I played the other night after
Yeah.
getting, I think there's a swing vision of this match. I think we won 1 point on their serve in 2 sets.
Yeah,
that's
it was
that.
bad.
The level of ass kicking that was unprecedented in my adult
Yeah.
tennis career. But now that we're in year 2,
Yeah.
like there's a couple guys that are legit 5-0s in the team now.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys that are really getting into that upper reach of 4-5 and maybe going to be in the bubble. There's a couple like me that are more in the middle of 4-5, but on the right day can make some good adjustments and hang. And we're not getting embarrassed this year. We're getting beat more often than, but I don't feel like we're the bad news bears. I feel like teams last year was like, okay, who are our 5 worst guys? Great.
Yeah.
They're gonna beat us, beat our
them,
team, right? Now I think that other captains, I assume, they have to think a little bit about who's a good lineup, all that stuff, and that's been so satisfying. And I think that some version of that can happen at every single level. And to me, it makes the case for playing up.
Yes,
if
I love it.
you're okay taking some losses.
Yeah, if you are someone who, if you're ready to take some losses and your ego's going to be okay. I love playing up. I think that's what you should do it. That's the way you get better. You play against better players. I don't think anyone should be afraid to play up. If you get beat 0-0 every single match, then okay, maybe next year you don't, but I think it's really important to play up. I don't think anyone should feel like they aren't worthy.
Yeah. I will say, I know that Raleigh and Cary have minimums of players at level, and Durham does not.
Yeah.
There are some rumblings that they might institute a couple minimums, which, by the way, I get it, but at the same time,
fine.
like, that's going to lead to a decrease in revenue. And so, look, if you want nicer courts, don't implement stuff that makes it harder for people to play. But take public clay out of it. If you want the hard courts at Rock Quarry to have the grass that's on the mode, keep letting the Bad News Bears at 4-5 that are 4-5 guys playing at 5-0. And I will say, I actually don't think that we were the ones that generated the complaint. I think that there was maybe
it wasn't us.
A 3-5 team that was all 3-0s. And look, if you have one match that's boring where your team rolls another team, I hate to say it, but get over it.
Yeah,
like, it's part of the game. Like, you can't have a great match every time in League. That's part of what you're signing up for.
Yeah.
So I hope they don't institute those minimums. I think it might happen, and if so, might mean a little more creative recruiting. For next year.
Exactly. We'll figure it out. I'm not that worried.
Matt, I have to issue a public apology, and also a public thanks to Jaron Russell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So last night at 6:37, I was in Raleigh at the work thing. And I got a group me message from Anil saying, "Hey, are you almost here?" To which I went back and read the messages. I had the time on my calendar as of Saturday or Sunday. Yeah. I saw a message come in that made me think that I wasn't in the lineup. I can
see it now.
It was totally my fault. I read it fast and I was like, "Oh, okay." Pulled it off my calendar. Didn't think about it again. Classic. It completely on me for not double checking. I am the one at fault here, 1,000%. And I felt I had just pure panic because the guy was being super accommodating, and he was like, "Hey, I can wait half an hour." And I was like, "Look, it's going to take me an hour and a half to get there because I have to go home, I have to get changed, I have to go." But fortunately, Jaron Russell, savior, hero, that people are saying, somehow managed to get there in the window that this very kind individual graciously gave us and got there so he didn't have to default the line. So Jaron is in contention for Baby Archie's middle name right now.
Wow.
So thank you, Jaron, for saving me. And Matt, I gotta imagine as a captain when you got that call from me, that was a pretty irritating moment. So I apologize.
You're not the first person to do that. That happens. It's if something like that doesn't happen every single match of every single week, then that's weird. David Neenan texts me, and he's, "Hey, we're all good for Saturday." And I told him, I was like, "Yeah, we're all good now," but I was like, "Let's check in Friday when 5 people say they have weddings that they had planned for 6 months that they forgot about." And then we'll actually see if we're actually good. So every single week, every single lineup, if you put it up, it doesn't matter. Someone's not going to be available. It doesn't give us, time.
As a captain, give the players a little bit of coaching how to. For example, I've got a couple work things that are maybe going to happen at some point in June where that would require me to be out of town. I don't know. I've got two ranges of dates. Each date would conflict with a match. I don't know which one it's going to be. I don't know if either one will happen or both will happen. Is it helpful for somebody to proactively communicate that there's a maybe, or is it easier for you as a captain for them to wait until it's definitive?
So usually, Spencer and I try to put the lineups out a week ahead.
Yeah.
So if you know a week ahead, if you know before that week, then you should put it in there. If you don't, you're probably a no.
Yeah.
There's no real maybes. I don't know what to do with a maybe means you're not in the lineup unless somebody else is out, and I have to ask you as last resort.
Yeah. Uncertain. What I'm hearing is uncertainty is the killer. You can work with I can't make it because then you just go to another guy.
Yeah. Let's get somebody else. If you put a maybe, you're not in the lineup no matter what.
Yeah.
Unless I ask you personally, "Hey, can you make it?" If you tell me maybe, that's worthless. Then I'll go to somebody else until I find somebody.
That's a TTP original, folks. Yeah. Maybes are worthless. Yes, no.
I would take it off the option of it's just you're in or you're out. There's no in between.
Yeah. Matt, before we wrap up, it's the first, to my knowledge, inaugural Enocta League Summer Tri-Level. Can you just break down for folks what the deal, how that works, what it is?
Yeah. So let me just say one thing is that's not true at all.
Oh, really? Wait, really?
Of course not. We've had it for years.
I didn't know that. No, wait. They did Summer Tri-Level in 2024 in Durham.
I went to states at Tri-Level in 2022 or 2021. I can't remember.
Whoopsies.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man.
I guess I just never got invited before then. I
This
didn't
is
know.
your first. This is your first tri-level.
Yeah,
We've been
wow.
playing tri-level for
The
years.
ego of that assumption, like, I've never been on a team, so thus it must not have existed.
must not exist.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's a real window into my psyche. Okay, glad we're doing another season of Summer
Yes.
Tri-Level. What is it? Tell folks that are familiar.
Tri-level is a really fun season. So there's lots of levels. So you play 3 different levels. You play, for us, like one of the teams we're on is 4-0, 4-5, 5-0. So it's really fun. You get to play. If you're a 3-5, you may not get to interact with 4-5s a ton, but you get to play in this team together, and you get to. And I really like it because you get to play with all these different guys. Combo, you get to play with the folks above and below you, but 2 levels above or 2 levels below, you don't always get to see. So I really enjoy it. It's tough scheduling because you can only have your 5-0 guys or your top level guys can only play that, and then your lowest level guys can play up. So it gets a little tricky scheduling, but no, it's a really fun league. Happens in the summer. We've got a great team that we're hoping will go to States. States is in Raleigh for tri-levels. That'll be really nice. But Berliner's in our other opponent, and he's got a really good team too.
Both teams are really good.
They are really good.
Oh boy,
it's good, and they picked up a really good 5-0 Nick out of Chapel Hill Tennis Club.
Yeah,
I've never seen a guy who hits a forehand that hard. It was terrifying.
Harder than Royce? Harder than Royce?
I saw Royce. At least on par, but
yikes.
Yeah,
but also,
I think he's
a lefty too.
I might be misspeaking, but I thought he was a lefty.
Oh golly,
it was scary.
Golly.
Yeah, so that was a big pickup for them, but yeah, it's going to come down to availability. Max Gregson always says
availability wins championships.
It does, yeah.
So maybe that's part of why I'm 0 for 19 in my quest.
Your availability isn't great. Yeah,
it's not good.
It's not good.
You know, a big part of why I left my job that I have when I moved back to Durham and started a company was so I could have more flexibility, so I could play more tennis. Now that wasn't like the driving force, but as I was doing, I was like, I just want to make sure I can like sneak out for lunchtime tennis pretty regularly. Get on the courts when I want to. And stupid and wrong.
Yeah.
Is not going that way at the moment, but maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe when you get a little bit more established. The best is when you have everyone works on different time zones, so then like you just put on your calendar, I got a meeting, and no one's even awake then, so that's fine. So it works out.
Man, when I had my old job, I used to put like appointment with doctor, and then I would just take somebody's name and distort it a little bit. So I would play Mike Westlander sometimes during the day, and I'd put appointment with Dr. Wesley Landers on my calendar for an hour and a half.
That's funny.
And nobody asks questions when they see doctor's appointment on calendars. But now, there's a little more incentive to not do that because, it's not. It's me not doing my job.
Oh, I see. Because you on your I was like, for me, what are you talking about? I do it all the time.
Before I was getting paid either way. Now it's like,
exactly.
You got to work, you want to get paid.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just don't even. I just put meeting.
Yeah.
For 4 hours.
Oh man, I also, this is maybe bad, and I hope I can start by light for saying this. I used to put Bible study when I would hit with Stuart sometimes.
Oh, that's funny.
I would have. Oh God. Having
good.
a salaried gig was great. Those are the good times. Good times once upon a time. On that, Matt, do we want to close with a game before we get on out of here and go to our day jobs?
Oh, sure. We can do from point A to public clay. Looking around. Hang on. A lighter.
Oh boy, I just want to light a spark under everybody in the Talking Tennis community, in the Triangle Tennis podcast community, that we need public clay courts in Durham right away. We need them.
Damn, that's good.
You know what? Look, I know it's annoying at this point, but we can do two things at once. We can both advocate that they get the shitty lights fixed at several courts, while in the short term, while simultaneously in the long term advocating for the creation and the funding of new courts. The thing I always come back to is North Carolina has the most players per capita in the southern region. The southern region has the most players per capita of any section, right? Mm-hmm. We are in, and then you look at Cap, you look at Carey, we have a staggering amount of tennis players. There is more demand here than there is supply, right? Yeah. And so one of two things is going to happen. We're going to make a public investment, and we're going to have a healthier and more active community and continue to attract tennis players from all over the country and the world, which will help us retain folks and grow the tax base. Or we're going to have private clubs. And so, look, some people are fine with private clubs. There's nothing wrong with them. I hope to get into Hollow Rock, but that's just not really consistent with my like basic values. I don't think you should have to be wealthy to have access to play on courts that are a little easier on the body. And I recognize there's like essential services that we're having a hard time with in Durham, like buses getting to and from schools. But look, that's these issues like that, they're complex. That's because the state legislature has a series of hostile towards city policies that make it harder for us to pay competitive rates to school bus drivers. It actually affects, it's not a city funding issue, it's a state funding issue. Public clay courts, that's something that can be a purely municipal thing. We do not need state involvement to do it. And believe it or not, it actually is a far easier solution or a far easier problem to solve for than many of these complex solutions. And so, like, a lot of the time, it's not just the funding, it's the policies that are in place at the state level, at the federal level, or just various other challenges. And so, like, we can get public clay courts if enough people believe that we can, and if 4 people in the city council say yes. Like, it's easier than you think. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen this year. But in the next 10 years, it can happen. And simultaneously, we can get these courts that already exist cleaned up a little bit because some of them not up to par with Cary, for example.
Oh, jeez, yeah. Don't get me started. Yeah, we'll never get there. But yeah, just not having grass on the courts that aren't grass courts would be a great start.
You don't want to mow your hard courts. It's not a good sign. On that note, Matt, it's always a pleasure, man. Thanks for doing this.
It's good times.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and have a great day.